On this episode of the After the Timeout podcast, in partnership with the IBCA, we welcome Ryan Vasquez, head boys basketball coach at Sterling High School in Sterling, Illinois. We talked to Coach Vasquez about maintaining your program standards, helping your team through long travel, preparing to play high-level teams, and much more. As always, thank you for listening.
So, Coach, we'll start with the opening tip. Tell us just about your background and kind of how you got to where you are at Sterling High School, and kind of the path that led up to it, and kind of what you're doing with your program and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm born and raised in Sterling, Illinois. I graduated from Sterling High School in 2001. Played 3 sports here for Sterling High School. I played football, basketball, baseball. As a little kid, I was a ball boy for a football team. I used to ride my bike down to the high school and watch football practices early in the morning when they had the 7 a.m.s. I was that kid. I was just the kid that wanted to be around the blue and gold 24/7. I had the opportunity to go through it as an athlete. So just being around Sterling High School and being back here has been a blessing. I will tell you, after I would live down in Iowa City, I tore my ACL, MCL. I came home to finish up my schooling online because I couldn't get around campus. So I finished up through Ashford University. As I was finishing up, I got a phone call from Rock Falls High School to coach track. So I started coaching track in the summer. It was the spring. And then I started coaching basketball that summer. And then Sterling found out that I was around. They called me the day before football started. Greg King gave me a call and said, "I hear you're in town. Do you want a job?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll take a job. Let's talk." So I got my first gig here at Sterling High School. They gave me a great opportunity. I picked away at my schooling. I was a teacher's aide. While I was doing that, I got my feet wet. Then I was here a year or two. And one thing I can tell you is I became the head freshman basketball coach at the time. And one of our head freshman basketball coaches and I were pretty good friends. And we kept telling each other, "Hey, man, we're only back home to save some money. You're going to finish school. We're out of here. We're going to Florida." And then we were set on it. And every year we coached together, 3 years straight, we said it. And 19 years later, we're both here still. So that's kind of a quick glimpse at how I ended up here. Kind of got lucky at where I'm at. Very blessed on where I'm at. And when I say it's home, it's truly home.
I think the dream is we all want to go to Florida, but that's a whole different ballgame. So the first half of the episode, we kind of want to dig into your program a little bit more. For those listeners that don't know, we have had coaches on from downstate, and downstate's a little bit of a different animal. We had the head coach of Geneseo on prior, and your conference is very spread out, everywhere from Moline to Sterling to Galesburg to Rock Island to all the way down to Quincy. So sometimes you guys travel very long distances for your conference games. Kind of how do you prepare your team for that long travel? And then once they get off the bus, how do you get them going?
Man, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I love traveling. I think it's a different mindset. It's an animal, it's a beast. You do bag checks, you watch film before you leave, you get on the bus, you throw in your headphones, and if it's a longer drive like to Quincy, we technically throw some movies in, but the rest of the drives, it's Moline, it's you're getting ready to play a ball game. So just the mindset, it's pretty much set in stone. I mean, we got a lot of football kids. Coach Schlemmer and I have a lot of same standards in our program on how we prep for games and how we go about handling our programs, and it's pretty much set in stone that those guys know when they get on a long bus ride, it's all fun and games, but at the same time, you got a game to go win. And on the way there, we get dialed in, And then I always tell the guys, win or lose on the way home, we're going to have fun because the game's over. And, we're going to enjoy ourselves and move on to the next day.
So kind of in that same line of questioning there, last year you played state championship Moline, right, in a single digit game, which really, really close to most games, right? They're a very talented team. You played Metamora and lost by 2 in the sectional. How do you prepare your teams, not just for the travel, but now on the court, right, for those kind of teams that are really talented, really good on a night in, night out basis? Not just them, like everybody you play is really, really good.
Yeah, our strength of schedule, when I took over our strength of schedule, we started picking up, the Rock Islands and, the tougher opponents, because we knew it was about how we ended the season. And, I always say it's the Tom Izzo schedule, right? You guys build your schedules up, and it doesn't matter if you're 500 for high school basketball, you're in postseason, you're ready to go. It wasn't about wins or losses. It's about putting our program, in the right spots at the right times. And now that we're in the Western Big Six, there's no off night. You travel to Moline, and next thing you know, you get a Tuesday night game and you're going to United Township, and then you're flipping around playing Quincy on a Friday. So the strength of schedule has been a part of our program since I took it over, but it's helped our kids out tremendously. Not only in season, guys, but out of season. You talk about summer. We're trying to go play the best of the best. If we get throttled by 30, we get throttled by 30. And it's what we look for. We don't want any cupcake games. We want our guys to know you got to be able to compete for 32 minutes at a high level to beat the big dogs like the Molines and the Metamoras. And truly, I believe our guys have done that. And they've been in the right spots at the right time. And I think that's just because of what we do during the off season and how we set up our schedule.
So we want to kind of talk a little bit. Let's take a little bit of a turn here. We kind of want to talk about your semi-pro experience, but I want to tie it back to high school. So you worked for the Sauk Valley Predators.
Yep.
But I kind of want to know from that experience specifically, what did you take back to your high school level kids, your high school level program that kind of could help them be more successful? Not just that you coached pro, but kind of what are things you've now applied later?
Yeah, I tell you what, it's one of those things, like, I almost did it backwards, right? I was a semi-pro coach before I was a high school coach, like head varsity coach. And just being able to get my feet wet and understanding that, like, man, those guys come into work every single day. And I knew as a young coach at the age of 24, 25 years old, that I had to bring the juice every single day, have those guys prepared, because they played for the University of Illinois. Jeremy Richmond, Carlton Fay down at Southern Illinois. The best part about it, though, is they kind of mentored me at the same time. It was kind of like, hey, coach, what about this? And it wasn't an all the time thing, but that's what you want. And even still today, I think I've carried that over to my high school teams, because you want a lot of reflection from your guys. They're the ones out there playing. You got to know how they feel. So the biggest thing I took away from that is you got to be able to listen to your players and say, hey, this is how they're feeling at the moment, and it was a blessing in the sky. But it's just one of those things where I wish I could do it all over again, because I feel like I'm more prepared now, obviously, as a coach than I was when I was 24, 25 years old.
So kind of let's
aren't we all, right? we could all say that.
Let's stretch that out a little bit. How much feedback, or what kind of feedback are you looking for from your players? How much is too much? How much is not enough? Like, kind of what's that sweet spot? Because yes, we all want our feedback, but we also want them to kind of go along a little bit. So where's that sweet spot for the feedback?
I take in everything I can from my players. And I think the main reason for that is because when I did coach semi-pro, I listened 110% to what those guys had to say, because they've been places I've never been before, you know? So as a high school coach right now, I mean, you got to be able to let your players express their feelings. And, you know, I got a young man right now. I won't give you any names. He's a great basketball player, basketball IQ super high, but he'll always let me know how he feels, always. And he knows sometimes that I'll accept it and sometimes I won't. And it's okay for them not to feel the same way that I feel about something. But I think it allows him to express himself, and it allows him to trust you a little bit more than maybe what they would if you cut him off, you know, like, hey, there's a boiling point, right? I don't think there's a boiling point. I mean, my players can tell me anything they want, and I'm going to listen to them, and either I take it or I don't. But the bottom line is you got to listen to your players, and you know, it's about them anyways, right? I mean, if you're gonna believe in them and you want them to believe in you, you better be able to sit down and talk to them and let them know how things are going, and move on from there.
So I want to follow up on that a little bit then. Right, you said, yeah, they can tell you anything, but then they're, you know, like they're young adults. They're still learning, just like you talked about when you were 24, you're learning, right?
Yep.
So how do you kind of help them know that kind of, and I don't know if line is the best word, but like, yeah, it's okay to feel this, but you know, today we gotta kind of plug away at it, or you know, this is a big thing, you know, and each person is different, but how do you help them learn that along the way, right?
Yeah. The biggest thing is you guys can't be a car salesman. You got to show them why you believe in it, and this is why you're doing it. You know, I'm a big film guy, and you know, if someone's going to question something that we're doing, I'm not going to sit here and tell you this is why we're doing it. I'm going to show you why we're doing it. You know, we're blessed enough here at Sterling High School. I film every single practice. Anything we do in the gym with my kids, I film it. So if they want to question something during practice and say, hey, why did we do this drill? Or, hey, why the rotations work this way? I'm going to show them physical evidence of this is why we're doing it. And I think kids believe you more if you can show them physical evidence rather than trying to sell them something, you know, in person. So just the film work in general, I think is huge for us. And it has been for a while now.
So you led perfectly right into it. You're the computer technician for your district. You use technology all the time. You just mentioned technology, right? I always know the worst fear is you look up at the huddle camera and the green light's not on. You're like, oh crap, I gotta get on my phone real quick.
Yeah, I'm not texting. Here's my phone. I'm not texting. No, we're starting
the computer, right?
We're labeling the practice, you know.
Yeah. But you know, perfect resource, and you know, technology is such a big part of our world now, right? There's so many cool, like, you know, right now, right? We can have a conversation on this podcast and see each other, right? And we don't have to be in the same room, right? So what are the ways you use technology in your program that maybe some other coaches can use that maybe they haven't thought about, or unique things you do to make your program successful?
Man, that's a loaded question. And it's a loaded question because there's so many ways to skin a cat. You guys heard it with everything. And what works for me might not work for you guys. But like I said, I mean, huddle is been nothing but like the bread and butter to our program. You know, like I said, what we do mostly, guys, is we break down every practice and every game. So whatever our focus is for that week, let's just say it's defensive rotations, and we haven't been rotating correctly on baseline drives. All right. I'm going to send out a playlist and huddle with breakdown of where the rotations were great and then where the rotations went bad. And when I send those out, guys, I know a lot of coaches probably like to do it this way because my younger coaches on my staff like to do this. But the way I do it is small clips. I mean, you got to be straight to the point. You got to be like, here's my get better film. Here's 5 clips on what we did good. Here's 5 clips that we did it bad. This is what we're working on this week. This is where we're at. So just basically laying out the foundation through huddle and sending out those clips to give them those daily reminders. We get done with practice at 5. They're probably getting a huddle playlist by 7. I mean, it's that quick of a turnaround, being like, it's fresh in your brain. It's right there for us. So we get home, eat some dinner, put something together, pump it out to the guys, and then tomorrow's a new day.
So I want to expand on that a little bit, right? Obviously, as a coach, like you have certain things you're looking at and the ways you watch film.
Yeah.
I just remember at the high school level, like kind of having to help your players at times. Okay, yeah, we have this film, but this is how we got to look at it and how you can use it. So how do you talk with your players about, okay, we have these short clips, not too long, but being more specific at, getting what your intentions out of the film clips, as opposed to, they just click and watch it and then, okay, coach, I watched it. You know what I mean? Like you're being more intentional about watching that film and teaching them kind of how to watch it.
Yeah. Well, that's my classroom, right? So I'm going to send you these clips. And then the first thing we're going to do before we even start stretching that next day is we're going to jump right into what we sent out, and we're going to physically walk through it, because the both of everyone on your team is not going to be able to adapt to huddle the same way. You got your visual learners, so, and then you got people who actually physically need to walk through it 100 times before they understand it. And that's okay. Everyone's got a different way of learning. So I just giving them different ways to adapt to that concept is huge, whether it's huddle, whether it's through walkthrough, whether it's through individual sit down time. But just actually putting them in the spots that they need to be. And it's all about repetition. I mean, you guys know, if you can't do something just one time, you got to do it 100 times, and you got to do it for weeks before you get to where you're happy with it. And patience is a tough thing.
All right, so we want to go into, it's kind of halfway point. We call it halftime adjustments. And I want to talk about something you mentioned before. You mentioned you played 3 sports. I'm sure you have a ton of athletes that play multiple sports. So I want to talk with you a little bit about finding that balance, right? You have a guy that's a really good basketball player, but he may be a great football player, right? Or a baseball player or track or whatever it may be. Especially at a school like yours and a lot of schools pretty much everywhere. How do you kind of find that balance with those athletes who, yeah, they're basketball players, but maybe their their bread and butter is going to be in football or track or baseball, and kind of bring them all together and work through that throughout the season, right? With all the coaches and all the programs in your school.
Yeah. The first thing I want to say is, man, just very blessed to have a bunch of programs here at Sterling High School that are willing to work together. I mean, from football to volleyball to softball to baseball, it doesn't matter. We're all on the same page. And that's just been awesome, because everyone wants the same goal. Everyone wants to win, right? So just being able to be on the same page with everybody else in the program has been amazing. Makes my life easier, but it also tells the kids, like, hey man, everyone's working together here. So it's not like, well, football's doing this and basketball's doing this, or football's doing this and baseball's doing this. We're pretty much all on the same page. So that's a blessing in the sky. Another bonus is, I tell my kids this all the time. Like, hey, you throw all your marbles into the sport that you want to be really good at, and you can go do that. I have no hard feelings. But there's opportunities for you to become a better basketball player if you want to become a better basketball player. One of my better basketball players in the past was a baseball player, big time baseball player. I mean, he would be after school running, He'd lift, he'd get his baseball workout in, he'd come to a late practice. It didn't matter, but he barely put in any basketball work. But guess what? When basketball season came, he was still talented enough to show up and be one of our dudes. You know, some people are just blessed like that. You know, and I know times have changed a little bit, especially the past 5 years. You know, a lot of kids are trying to dial in on one sport. I don't believe in that. I don't know how you two feel about that. I'd like to see our kids do as many sports as possible. 3-sport athletes are amazing. 2-sport athletes are amazing. And here's the thing. If you are a 1-sport athlete, I'm okay with it. Here's why. I'm only okay with it is if you're in the weight room during the off season, you're doing extra speed and agility somewhere and not going home and hitting those video games. You guys know what that's like, you know? So as long as they're staying active as a 1-sport athlete, that's the biggest thing. And a double bonus for the kids, if they're a 2 or 3-sport athlete, is they get to hear a different voice, right? I mean, instead of hearing you for 12 months, staying on them constantly, now someone else is on them, giving them the same message, but probably maybe in a different way, you know? So it's just good to get that reassurance from another coach, like, hey, continue to keep working in the weight room, get stronger, you know, and it helps us out a ton there.
So for the second half of the show, we want to focus on like a topic with each of our guests. And for you, we kind of want to talk about just the ability to maintain success after multiple years. So recently I was reading something and there was a quote that said, establishing your standards of your program are easy, but maintaining the high level standards over an extended period of time is difficult. You have had, for our listeners that don't know, you have had an extended period of time of some very solid success, which is a compliment to you and your staff and your program and your kids and your community. But how do you maintain those standards in your program? And how do you continue to engage your student athletes into those high standards so that it's not just white noise?
Yeah. You know, it's a win the day process. And I'm a big win the day guy. And every year, you guys know, you look at your roster, you got a new deck of cards, and they're not the same team. You got to bring the juice every single day, whether it's in practice, whether it's in the weight room, whether it's in the gym, they're getting shots up. And it's a different beast because when I first started coaching my first 4 years, I wanted to follow the syllabus, right? Like, hey, man, this is exactly what we're doing. Here's the book. And after 4 years, I've learned like every year changes. Like the athletes change. Our style of play might change just a little bit because maybe we're not as big. Maybe we're smaller. Maybe we need to press more. So just adapting to the cards that we're dealt. You know, the portal hasn't been open for us here at Sterling High School. So we're not rolling in new athletes. They're like 6'10" and maybe going to Iowa, but just keeping them upbeat and understanding like, hey, we ask our athletes to get better. You better be getting better. You better be taking the time 40, 50, 60 minutes a day. All right. To get better as a coach, because you're asking your athletes to be in the gym for 40, 50 minutes, 3 times a week, or you're asking them to get those extra shots up. So just staying fresh with everything and always adapting. I mean, you guys know, I mean, coaching's, when you first start coaching, it's like throwing mud at a wall, right? Like, who are we going to be today? You know, like, what's this going to be like? And then you're throwing and seeing what sticks. And then you kind of, you know, get used to it and say, you know what, this is my vision. This is what I want in our program. And I want our kids to be able to work hard every single day and understand that, like, hey, we're not going to be the same team every year. We're not going to be the same type of program every year. One thing we will bring every single year is work ethic. We're gonna win the day. We're gonna work hard on what we're trying to do. We're gonna get better at it, and everything else just really takes care of itself.
Man, he's at 6'10", John. We'd both be happy with like a 6-footer. If we could get somebody at 6 foot, it's just hit the 6 foot mark. We'd be good with that. So in that same line of questioning here, your first year I believe you won more games than anybody had in program history. And obviously it's a combination of your players, maybe a little bit of luck, right? Walking into a good situation. But what did you contribute? What do you contribute your early success to, and things maybe that you did that now looking back at it kind of worked and were the right way to go? As you said, you're learning, right? You're every year's different. Maybe that other coaches can use when they kind of take over a program in their first years to get your program on the right path.
Yeah. Man, you said it a little bit ago, luck. I mean, it takes a little luck. It doesn't matter what your roster looks like too. I mean, I talk about during postseason all the time. Hey, you know what? We got to be really dang good tonight, but we're also going to need a little luck during the postseason. But just looking at it as a whole, my mentors, you find out who your mentors really are, and the ones that stay connected to you during good times and bad times. Even if it's a friendly text message, like, hey, like just checking in, how you doing? Do you need anything? I'm not going to name drop, but I've had some great mentors ever since I took this over and this program over here at Sterling High School, and just being able to stay connected with people outside of Sterling High School has been a big help to my success as well. Is just being able to learn and someone else being there for you, staying connected. That's pretty much just all I have is like, who your real mentors are, because they're always checking up on you. And I've been very blessed to have those.
So it's the same idea. You had kind of touched on it, but I want to dig a little bit deeper. So yes, every year, your roster is a new deck of cards. But so how do you, when you sit down, let's say it's in March, April, and you're looking at your roster for the next year, as we all do, how do you kind of decide each offseason what to maintain maybe in your X's and O's, and what do you want to change? And kind of how do you and your staff go through those decisions together?
Yeah. The 25 contact days for the summer is kind of a blessing. We kind of have like the next 3 years mapped out, on a Google Doc sheet, like, hey, these are the possible 7 to 8 kids that might be rotation minute guys. What kind of schemes would they be good in? What kind of athletes are they? And then just looking at it in general is like the 25 contact days is like, that's time to throw stuff at the wall. You try out your concepts. Hey, what kind of concepts they're good at, offensively, and then, defensively, like, hey, are we more of a press team this year? Are we not more of a press team this year? And you got to kind of just let them roll with it, and then just feel it out. Take a lot of notes. Summers are huge because you're coaching your tail off, but at the same time, it's like 90% skill development, but then you're taking that 10% and then you're trying to throw in some concepts to see exactly who you are, right? And this summer was actually one of those summers where we said, oh, we can't do that. Like, that's not who we are. After two weeks, probably played like 12 games in 2 weeks. We were just like, nope, that's not who we are. So taking the summertime to actually figure out, like, hey, this is the deck of cards that we have. Now, it's not going to tell the whole story, because you guys know it takes time to put something in and be really good at it. But the things that we have ran in the past, we continue to run those while trying to still add in new stuff for the new deck of cards.
So, you, Coach, you've had a ton of success and you've kind of built it up to where you're at now. But when you were going along that process, you're kind of your standards, right? Like, hey,
Yep.
your first year, maybe this is what we're trying to do. And then you build on that and you have success and you win a regional and you get to the sectionals. How do you kind of help your players, raise those standards to the next level and prevent them from, hey, we're just going to show up. We've had success the last year and we're going to be good and we're going to be a winner. What is your process, whether it's, through film, through having conversations, meetings with players, Obviously you're upperclassmen to kind of prevent that of, yeah, we're just going to show up and we're going to be really good.
Yeah. You just constantly got to remind them, I send out a lot of texts to my guys, and if it's a one-liner, it's a one-liner to say, hey, this is where we're at. But you just gotta stay on them and let them know, like, hey, these are the standards. What are your goals for next year? And like, even right now in the summer, like, hey, we just finished our last week of weightlifting through max. We got the max, but you remind those guys, like, hey, remember, this is still your goal for the season. So we can't be letting up once August hits. Like, we got to continue to keep putting in that work. So just being able to remind them, like, hey, we see light at the end of the tunnel, but you're never going to be there. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know what the goals are, but the biggest goal is to win today. And you hear me say that a lot. I said that earlier about winning the day. And all honestly, like, I want our guys to bring the juice every single day to what they're doing. And it all adds up and it'll take care of itself. Like I said, they know what the goals are at the end of the tunnel. But just the biggest thing would be staying on them every single day and bringing it every single day. And I think you as a coach, you got to bring it too. I mean, you got to show them that you're putting in the work. Like I said, I mean, shoot, my coaching staff's in the weight room. They're working out, they're just like they are. They're up there, they're getting after it. I got coaches that are getting on the gun, getting shots up just like they are. Sometimes with them, and I think it's just letting them know, like, control what you can control. And today's it. But hey, you know what? There's some nice things that we can do this coming year, but you have to put in the work to get it done.
Well, you just said my favorite saying, which is control what you can control. So thank you for saying that. So in our last two segments, we want to start off with what we call 30-second timeout. It's your opportunity to talk about any topic you want, whether it's yourself or your program or your family or something completely outside of basketball. Or to be honest, lately, a lot of guests have been turning the tables on Todd and I and kind of asking us a question or our thoughts on something. So as Todd likes to joke, it's a very loose 30 seconds. There's no referee coming in your huddle telling you that you got to get out. So the floor is kind of yours.
Yeah. Well, for 30 seconds, the thing I probably want to talk about the most is just, as a coach, just don't forget about your family. Man, there's times I have to remind myself, just you put it down and walk away, and go outside with your kids, put them to bed, do all that stuff, because at the age of 40, 19 years in the business, sometimes you can get overwhelmed and get caught up in stuff. And sometimes you just got to put it down. And I learned that from another coach, like, hey, you just got to walk away. So I guess to all listeners out there, there's a time and place for it. Just put it down and give it a rest for a little bit. Go out, enjoy life. Whether that's, I don't know what you guys like to do for fun. Go fishing, whatever you guys like to do. But there are times where you just got to drop the game, and I know it's hard to do. When you're a basketball guru and that's all you want to do is, jump online, watch some new videos or learn a new defensive scheme really quick and see what you can implement into next year's program, like, just drop it and go enjoy your life for a little bit and come back, because you're going to come back stronger and your brain's going to be fresh and it's not going to be as scattered. But that was probably one of the hardest things that I had to learn through the 20 years that I've been coaching here, or 19 years I've been coaching here, and is just drop it and let it go.
All right, Coach. So we're going to get in the last segment, quick hitters. This is kind of just rapid fire fun questions, real loose. I'm going to add one because you mentioned it. You have your coaches getting on the gun. All right. So if you're getting in the gym and on the gun and shooting 100 shots, how many are you hitting? What's your shooting percentage, Coach?
Ooh, man. I'm not going to lie. I was never a shooter.
Okay.
We weren't blessed with the guns when I was in high school. Those things are amazing. We have 3 of them. So my percentage isn't going to be very good. So it's going to be pretty low, pretty bad. I'm not even going to give you a number. It's going to be awful. It's really bad. But over time, I could probably get that better if I find some more time to get on that gun.
I always find that fun. You get in there and shoot a little bit, and your kid's like, "Oh, hey, coach maybe knows what he's talking about, right?"
Yeah, but I always come back like, hey, I'm a defender. I'm
There
gonna
you
rock.
go.
You ain't scoring on me.
Yeah, there you go.
I got enough juice at the age of 40. You ain't scoring on me. I'm
I
gonna
know.
lock you up, and I'm gonna put a hand in your face, contest every shot. But I might not make a shot, but I'll give
Yeah.
you I'll give you an assist.
Okay, there we go. I like it.
You come set a screen for me, and I'll hit you on the roll.
There you go.
I can do that too.
Awesome. Awesome. So next question. Best thing about coaching in a small town, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
not it's not super small, but it's more close knit than kind of where me and John live, right? We live in this big suburbs that you barely know your neighbors and things like that.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, guys, this is all I know, right? I mean, we talked about at the beginning of the show is, I'm born and raised from Sterling. So the big suburban life, schools and exactly how it all works behind the scenes and with the community and being involved. And I really don't know how that works tremendously, but what I can tell you here at Sterling High School is, the community is very involved. They're very blessed with, the student athletes that we have. They're very blessed with the facilities that we have. And then they're very, very blessed with the administration that we have. Our administration on top of it, they're here to support you. You talk about mentors, and they're really good mentors. They're here for you, whether it's for basketball or outside of basketball. So just being in a small town and knowing the fact that like, hey, a lot of people have your back, and they're here, they're rooting for you. And if there's anything they ever need, you can go to somebody. I guess that's just part of being a small town, right? Is understanding that like, hey, you're always going to have those group of people that are there and to support you. And you can definitely tell that they're supporting the community with our facilities.
All right, so I'm going to actually add one as well because for our listeners that don't know, I put it on our Twitter. If Coach just mentioned their facilities are amazing. Their gym is awesome. Their baseball field is beautiful. So, but I'm going to tweak this a little bit, Coach, and actually ask you your favorite high school gym to play in as a visitor or coach in as a visitor.
Oh man. Whew. That's a tough one right now. Favorite gym as a visitor. Right now I'll go with Quincy. Yeah, everyone knows that. Everyone knows the Quincy one. Different feels there. But outside, I'm gonna throw you another one just because a lot of people probably say Quincy. Ottawa.
Yep.
I love playing in that gym. It's always loud. And if I had to throw a third one in there, I'd say Taylorville. We go there for Christmas time, and man, that gym's special too. And those three gyms are all awesome.
Okay, so you and I had kind of talked about off the air. You guys are a big Nike school. So if you're picking your favorite Nike shoe, what are you picking?
Oh man, believe it or not, guys, I am not a shoe guy. So if I'm gonna pick one shoe, though, I'm gonna pick a Jordan just because I collected them all when I was a kid. I'm a Jordan fan at heart. So those are probably my favorite. If I have to go recent shoes, I'd probably go KD's. But you know how it is, us coaches, we're not wearing those basketball Nike. We're wearing running shoes all the time, right? When we're coaching. Well, I am. So, but yeah, if I had to go back to a basketball shoe, I'd probably go to the Jordans.
All right, so Sterling, his nickname is the hardware capital of the world. I didn't go. John researched this one. He was the research man on this one.
Yeah,
this is Coach. This is where it kind of goes off the rails. We've asked some goofy questions of people. What's your favorite tool, hardware tool? What do you get? What do you like to use?
Hey, I want to ask you a question right now.
Okay.
Do I look like a tool guy to you?
Come on. I don't know.
I'm not a tool guy. I'm not. I'm not a very handy man around the house. I do the bare minimum. I can rip a computer apart for you, but I'm not building a whole lot, guys. So I'm gonna skip this question because I'm not the tool guy.
I thought
agree
I thought
with
he
you,
was
Coach.
gonna say his favorite tool is the computer. I was waiting for that answer.
It was in the back of my mind, but I know where you guys were getting at. I'm not the real tool guy. So, yeah. So unfortunately, I can't help you out with that tool question.
I'm right there with you, Coach. I'm not really fixing much
All
of
of us,
anything.
all of us
That
together.
makes me feel good.
I
Sometimes,
can break it, not fix it.
yeah. I look at my wife all the time. I'm like, I'm just sorry, I'm not handy. But I tell you what, I mean, I love doing yard work. So I'm an outside guy.
There you go.
Throw the ear pods in, listen to the
Yeah.
podcast, let it roll. I can do that for hours.
There you go.
All right, so this is a big one now. If you and your family are gonna have dinner, are you the one that would rather be cooking or doing the dishes after?
Oh man. Well, I'm not really a cook, and my wife's really not a cook. So we try our best there. Um, she's really good at getting to the dishes before me. So I'd probably say cook. Put me on the Blackstone, and
Yeah.
let me go to work there for a while, and then we'll let her take care of the dishes.
Love it.
I don't want to do dishes either. That's dishes and laundry. I'm not down with that.
No, I can throw the laundry in, but I always forget it. My
Yes.
wife's like, "Hey, your laundry's done?" I'm like,
Nope.
yeah, I know it's done. It's been in there for 4 days straight.
Right. And then you gotta wash it again, and then you gotta do the whole process all over again.
Oh man, I don't know how many times that's happened during basketball season where I toss something in there and I end up washing it 2 or 3 times because I forget it, and then finally she just grabs it for me. But yeah.
All right. Goal, something you wanna do, something you wanna accomplish, maybe something like since you've been a kid, whatever it may be, after your basketball coaching career. Like, is there something you would like to pursue or ever been interested since since after you're done coaching?
Well, when I retire, is that where you're
Whatever, yeah, whenever you say it's time to be done coaching, what are we gonna go off and do, and
you,
or a dream that you've had that you want to try to accomplish?
yeah, you always think about it like, what if you guys didn't have basketball? Well, you don't have basketball, like 14-hour days are normal for us, right? 15-hour day. I mean, and then you have a 7-hour work day and you go home and you're like, well, what's going on? Like, why? What do I do? And you just get all fidgety and you got to go do something. I always got to be active because I'm just so engraved to have in those 14, 15-hour days. It's almost like natural. But, if I retire, like I said, man, move to Florida, live in maybe Destin. We go to Destin for vacation a lot, guys. I don't know if you've ever been there, but that place is awesome.
Yep.
I rave about Destin all the time. Gorgeous place. I'd probably move there. But in all honesty, I'm going to coach basketball as long as I possibly can and grind this thing out. And I don't know. I can't answer that because sitting still and standing still is not an option in my book. That's just, once you start coaching and your everyday work life and you're moving 14 hours a day, I don't know if I'd like sitting around just for 7 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I text John all the time. Like,
I'm bored.
I'm bored. What do I do? Like, because it was different this year because I was coaching college, so you don't have as much in the summer,
Yep.
right? You go recruit and do this, but like, not the summer camp of June and summer league and all that. Like you said, 14, 15-hour days. I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself right now. Like it's like so much you can do before you're like, okay, I'm done with all my stuff. I got to find something to do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you on that.
So for the last one, we started off talking about, your road trips. Maybe give us a funny bus story or a funny road trip story or one of those road trips that was maybe a little bit longer than it had to be because of the weather. Just something about a travel story.
Oh, okay. Well, I got 2 travel stories for you because these 2 I will never forget. I'm going to start off with, I was the freshman boys basketball coach here, head basketball coach. We were at LP.
Okay.
And at halftime, we go in the locker room, and I remember we're down 6. And I'm like, all right, Let's talk these X's and O's over. Let's try to figure this out. Typical halftime speech. One of my kids is ruffling through his bag. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'll never forget this, guys. His back is turned to me, back of his head. He turns around, he goes, I'm eating a hot dog. I'm like, you're eating a hot dog? Like right now, it's halftime. I'm trying to give a speech. We have 6 minutes. We got to go back out. You're eating a hot dog. Then I stop and I think and I say, wait a minute. Where'd you get that hot dog?
Right. That was my question. Where did you get the hot dog?
He goes, I bought an extra one during lunch and wrapped it up because I knew I'd be hungry at halftime. And I'm like,
resourceful.
Story I will never forget. Oh,
So you had your hot dog just sitting around in your backpack for how many hours?
guys, I'm not kidding. He had the bun, he had ketchup, he had mustard on it. It was wrapped up. He turned around. He tried to shove the whole thing in his mouth to get it done as quick as possible. And then he turned around. And that's why I had to ask him, what are you eating? Hot dog. I'll never forget. I'll never forget that halftime. Ever.
That's funny.
That is pretty funny. Let's see. What was the second part of that? Bus trip? Is that what you said?
Yeah, just any kind of fun road trip or unique, or maybe not even a fun one. Maybe it was a horrible experience.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what, this really happened. So first year in the Western Big Six, we're going to talk about Quincy again. We go to Quincy. First time we've been there. End up playing them first time, beat them. Our team's all excited. Like, we played out of our mind. We got them. Because that don't happen very often at Quincy, right? I mean, it's just numbers don't lie. When they play at home, they're really dang good. Driving home on the bus, everyone's chatting, and I'm looking at my assistant coach, and we're talking. And all of a sudden, I hear someone say, a car's coming at us. And it's a two-way, right? I mean, you're in Quincy in the back roads, and, or it's four-way. A car's going the wrong way, coming right at us, and our bus driver had to swerve. Both cars were going at least 70 miles per hour. And it was one of the scariest things ever. And after that, it was quiet for like 15, 20 minutes. And then everyone started, back up and talking. But yeah, car coming straight at our bus on our way home from Quincy. And it was probably about 12:30 a.m.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you jumping on with us today. I definitely can guarantee you we have never had a student athlete eating a hot dog in the locker room story. So thank you for joining us today. We had a lot of fun, and we look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you having us on, and take care, and we'll be listening.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the After the Timeout podcast in concert with the Illinois Basketball Coaches Association. Please remember to give us a 5-star rating wherever you may listen. For more show content and upcoming episodes, follow us on Twitter at After the Timeout and subscribe to our podcast for upcoming episodes. Thank you for listening.